a part of and friends with the Virginia Beach Tea Party, welcome our patriot from North Carolina. He drove 3 hours to be with us tonight. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. I get to skip past this now. Yeah, the Navy wasn't exciting enough, so I went to the Marine Corps. Yeah. So we're going to cover who we are. Who is U.S. Militia? Okay. What are we? What is the historical and legal foundation that we base our existence and our function on? Why small towns need us today? U.S. Militia's mission and structure. We did start as an LLC just to protect the name and reputation right off the bat, and that is now being converted to a nonprofit formally with the state of North Carolina. We'll cover our training, safety, and community service. We do focus heavily on community service. And, you know, most people don't know that historically, even in the colonial days, the militia, most of what they did was community service. Hurricane Helene, for instance, how to get involved and question and answers. So does anybody know who is the militia, legally speaking? Exactly. So the Constitution says that we are all the militia, and it is further broken down in U.S. Code, various state law. And as we know, the militia, the word, the term, and people of the militia have been demonized, you know, starting during the Obama years, and particularly bad during the Slojo regime. Okay, there was a great fear spread across the nation, and people were afraid to gather to even go shooting together, because they're afraid of being branded militia. So the groups today that it's used commonly for, I mean, even the war in Iran, the people, the civilians fighting with the IRGC in Iran are being called militia, okay, by the media, which is further kind of damning our reputation. They're not militia, they're gangs. Okay, so the groups that it refers to typically in the mainstream media today are not militia, they're not constitutional, they don't follow the Constitution. They're usually groups of thugs and troublemakers. In a lot of cases, violent extremists. The term has even been used by mainstream media to refer to Antifa militias. Well, they're not militias. They are groups of communist thugs, and they're violent and they're extremists. I've had personal experience. So we're not them. We follow a strict code of conduct. We strictly follow the Constitution and U.S. code and state laws, because we have members in multiple states. So we're men and women in many walks of life. You know, we want to, like all of you, we want to restore the nation to its constitutional function. We want to follow the Constitution. We want to get rid of these people that are constantly perverting our laws and are constantly attacking our freedoms. One of the ways that we do that is that we have a pretty robust community service set of programs that we're spending on. And one of them just finished an outline for a homeschool advocacy program. Okay? So that's something that's going to be coming along here shortly. The outline was just formalized, I think, 2 days ago. Yeah. So we are locally organized. We are a nonprofit. We've operated as a nonprofit thus far, even though we had legal status as an LLC, and probably the next week or two we'll formally be a nonprofit and file for 501c3. We are 100% volunteer, no federal or state funding. We owe nothing to anyone. We owe no loyalty to anything but the Constitution and the people of our country. We are a unique hybrid organization comprising militiamen, support persons, and all other patriotic citizens. So some of you may be familiar with the term 3% or 3%, 3 or things like that. And that is a reference to the approximately 3% of men who actually did the fighting in the Revolutionary War. Okay? And even fewer people know that approximately 10 to 20% of the colonial persons, okay, supported those 3%. So we're hybrid in the sense that we're combining all of these people together and calling ourselves U.S. Militia because we have a great deal of life experience and knowledge and wisdom, even sitting right in this room. You know, I'm no youngster myself. I'm 60 years old. Okay, so I've been around and I've learned different things and held different jobs, and we don't want to discount anyone. We need to pull together as a nation, and we need to communicate. We need to coordinate our efforts to restore our nation. There are more attacks that we can sit up here and talk about for a week going on across our country. So what is essentially what is our mission statement? We're dedicated to uniting patriotic Americans who seek to tackle community issues, engage in political dialogue, and support militia formation. Through our platform, we have a website, a Telegram channel. We empower individuals to actively participate in local and national discussions on vital topics. There's plenty of discussion going on. And ensuring that our voices are heard. Not only do we have, so we have our website with one particular host, and in order to make sure that our voices continue to be heard, that web host doesn't allow us to download the code for our website. We have a volunteer building the whole thing from scratch so that we have control of it. We'll be buying our own server so that we have control of it. And we'll be putting it on our property so that we have control of it and nobody can turn us off. Okay. And if we have to go from, a local provider to Starlink, then so be it. We'll hop around service providers as often as we have to, so that our voices are heard and so that we can talk to each other and pass information. Our job is to support, defend, and preserve the Constitution of the United States and the rights of our community. You guys are here tonight because of a financial attack on your community. They're trying to add a 6% meal tax or 8%. So you're trying to get rid of it, and they're trying to impose it, or they have imposed it. Right. So, and this everything from that up to national security issues are happening across this country. In North Carolina, we have magistrate judges letting some violent, murderous animals out of prison instead of keeping them there after they have stabbed a young lady in the neck. A Marine was just in Wilmington, outside of a coffee shop 2 days ago. A Marine was down there in his off time, and some thug stabbed him in the neck. And so violent people like this are being let out of prison or given reduced sentences by our Democratic governors. So, Cooper released 2,500 or 3,500 violent inmates during his term early. He cut time off their sentences, pushed them back out on the street. So there are all sorts of, everything from judicial attacks, legislative attacks, local ordinances, actual physical attacks in the street. All this is happening, and we need to come together as a nation the best that we can. And we need to coordinate our efforts to teach each other how to address this and how to fight back and restore our country. So there is a lot of misinformation out about militia and who has the right to form it. I'm going to tell you exactly what the Constitution says, and which is backed up by legal precedents in U.S. Code 246, and then in a couple of state precedents The Second Amendment of the Constitution says that the militia will be well regulated. That does not mean well regulated by government. That means well regulated within itself. Have good order, good behavior, good training. Is what that means. The U.S. Code 246, okay, separates the organized militia from the unorganized militia. Now, we know through what we've learned in our lives, and this gentleman and another person, they know what militia is. We're all the militia, right? So that's the Constitution. U.S. Code spells it out. There's a difference between organized and unorganized militia. Organized is the National Guard and Naval Militia, period. That's it. Unorganized militia is everybody else. And before it was amended in 1792, I believe, it was all able-bodied citizens, 17 to 45, and others who wish to volunteer were not part of any standing army, and they exist exactly as printed in the Second Amendment. So from the Constitution to U.S. Code, everybody in this room has the right to say, we're going to learn some basic first aid, we're going to learn how to preserve food, and we're going to learn how to shoot without, harming anybody that isn't supposed to be, and call yourself. Now, is there pushback? Yes, of course there is. We're at the point where if there's ever a time for America to come together, the Americans who want to, okay, in this form, it's now during this administration. And potentially we have 8 months left to do it. If communists steal the midterm elections again, next February, they're going to come after the nation all over, period. And a week and a half from now on local levels, yes. So what's the timeline of militia? Now, who knows, who could tell me who formed the first Continental Army under George Washington? Who did he gather up to form up that Continental Army? It was the existing militias they already had. So in 1775, the Lexington and Concord Minutemen. 1787, the Constitution mandates well-regulated militia. In 1792, the Militia Acts are signed into law. 1795, the Militia Act is amended, but it is not. It is not substantially changed in that we have the right to form up and call ourselves. 2026, many states actually have state militia, and like North Carolina actually has a formal government-sanctioned militia called North Carolina State Defense Force. Now, we've had 20-something years of Democrat governors. And Roy Cooper defunded it and disbanded it, but he left open the fact he left open that they could reform privately and self-fund it if they wished. Many state-sanctioned militias are at least partially funded by the state. So that's some leverage there. Historical and legal foundations we follow. State militias existed even before the U.S. Constitution, of course, because they were the ones that were rounded up, as well as irregulars, to fight in the Revolutionary War under George Washington. All 13 colonies had established militia systems well before the Constitution was signed. Their tradition in America originated from English kind of law and military practices, adapted to colonial needs for local defense against threats like Native American conflicts, foreign powers, French and Spanish, particularly up in the Ohio region against the French, pirates, and internal unrest. So colonial governments required able-bodied free men 16 to 60 with some variations to enroll, muster periodically, and train. They had to provide their own arms. They had to keep them in good working order. And they had to serve when called. These were compulsory community-based forces, often organized at the town or county level with some colonies, forming regiments for better coordination. Now, I want to mention, you know, in the days of the colonies, could you dial 911 and call EMS? Was there even an EMS? No. Was there a fire department? No. Was there a police department? No. Was there anything like was there FEMA? No. Guess who went to put out fires? Guess who went to rescue people from floods and hurricanes and all that stuff? Rescue people and haul them off to the docker if need be. Militias did, of course, among others. In October of 24, Hurricane Helene rolled through Western North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, all that, and it was horrific. I was out there 4 days after Helene went through, and I stayed out there helping provide aid for 2 weeks. And guess who provided the vast majority of aid to Western North Carolina? You know, everybody, the people, the militia of the people. Right? Yes, Cajun Navy was out there. There were 3%ers out there. There were all sorts of organizations out there. It was a big nation of people that just independently went, "Yep, I'm going," and it was amazing. Without prior coordination between each other, these people provided. I'd be up here another hour. It was just amazing. It was barely organized chaos. They got it done. The amount of food and supplies and medicine and professional personnel that were in there was just amazing. And it kind of brought home to me even more in a more focused manner that this is the reason that we need to be more organized. Right? Our response could have been better. And yes, the law enforcement and FEMA response out there was anywhere from non-existent to detrimental. They were not helpful at all. And they were stopping people and they were stealing supplies. They took over one of the facilities, the second facility that I was at. We had 4 tractor trailer loads of supplies out in the parking lot. And they gave us 24 hours to vacate. 24 hours. We didn't have trailers to load it back into. We had to leave it. So they took it by default. Okay. FEMA was awful. And I saw there was border patrol out there and just all kinds of weird stuff. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the people, I mean, there was a gentleman from Australia that came up and brought his cadaver dog to search for people who had perished. There were people from Japan. There were people from almost every state in America. California, Oregon, Washington, New Jersey, New York, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, North Carolina, and Virginia, yes. So we have a disaster response program, okay, that we're also spinning up. And we have an existing, we have a friend, okay, who has been involved and who is very, very involved in the response to Western North Carolina. His name is Marty, and he has at least one Telegram channel. He already has a communication system established to reach out through other means, okay, whether it be ham radio, sat phones, et cetera, has a list of phone numbers. And this guy can reach anybody, anywhere, to get whatever the heck we need, and he did. Okay, so this is an existing disaster relief program that we networked in with Marty, and I've known him for a few years myself, and she knows him too. So, sure.
What about sabotage spies who come to the meeting?
Spies and they come to the meeting. So this is actually, this has been a very popular topic. During the no Obama regime and the slow Joe regime, we had to worry about that. Okay, we had to worry about people trying to get arrested and demonize us and make up crimes and put false charges on us and put us in jail. And that did happen to quite a few people. We're in a different time now. This administration is the time to do this because they're not going to harass us. They're not going to give us a hard time. And if any localities do give our people a hard time, we will defend them. I will drive to wherever I have to drive, and I will defend my people personally. That's great. Okay. This is correct. We do have a strict code of conduct. It is written, and it is posted on our website, and it is posted on our Telegram channel. Everybody is, and it doesn't have to be signed, but it's expected that people adhere to it. And if they don't, we counsel them depending on the severity of it. Hey, you can't do this. This is how you make amends when you do so. If yes, great, they do. If not, they get booted. They get redlined they get blackballed from our program, period. Right? And if they're found to come back in, then of course we have legal remedy for that. What if they come in? Let me ask you this. Who has children that were Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts? Okay. Did they vet your children, do a background check before they joined Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts? Okay. Did they, when you go, who goes to sports games at stadiums, professional stadiums, college stadiums, high school stadiums, anything like that? Okay. Do they do a background check on you before you walk in there? They do it.
See.
So, point is, if we're going to be open for all of We the Militia, then we have to be open for all of We the Militia. Okay. Are we going to have problem people? Yes. As they present ill behavior, then we will address it. Okay. Look, I've been doing this for a little while now, a few years. I have dealt with infiltrators. I've dealt with betrayal. I've dealt with criminals. I have received death threats at drive-bys on my home, all sorts of things. So I'm very aware of the consequences that could have happened that is not so prevalent today because we do have the upper hand in our nation and we're going to keep it. If somebody, I will give an example without naming names because that would be unprofessional. We had a gentleman that was inciting assassination. Now, immediately he was gone, blacklisted, and I notified other leaders that needed to be aware of his behavior. Okay, so all that to say, we'll deal with it as it occurs. We want every responsible, level-headed patriot in this country that can and wants to participate and provide according to their skills and capabilities. We want them to be. We don't want anybody put off. We don't have to hide cave in cave. So we don't want to put anybody else in. We'll deal with it as it comes. And I imagine you all have probably read the rest of this by now. So I'll go ahead and move along. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And lawyers that pay an awful lot of money to pervert that word infringed. Federal law still in force today. 10 U.S. Code 246. The militia of the United States consists of all able-bodied males at least 17 years of age, except as provided in Section 313 of Title 32, under 45 years of age, who are or who have made a declaration of intention to become citizens of the United States, and a female citizens of the U.S. who are members of the National Guard, et cetera, et cetera. Classes of the militia are the organized, which consists of the National Guard and Naval Militia, and the unorganized, which consists of members of the militia who are not members of the other. This is the right here. It is right here. This is our This is our secondary right protected. This is our secondary protection to be able to do what we're doing, and it is spelled out in federal law. Okay, the very first protected right that we have to do what we're doing. Who would like to take a stab at what that is? The very first protected right that we have that gives us the right to do what we're doing in forming a militia.
Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech.
You got the right amendment.
First Amendment.
Freedom of assembly. The Constitution, the First Amendment starts out, Congress shall make no law respecting, and then the last sentence, the right of the people to peaceably assemble and seek redress. That's it in a nutshell right there. We can assemble for whatever reason we want to, short of committing crime. And there's nothing that they can do about it. Every single law, you have to pull a permit to go have a protest. Now, if you're going to block off a street, I get it, because it's going to take additional resources. But if you have to pull a permit in a public park, that's against your First Amendment constitutional right. Congress shall make no law respecting the right of the people to peaceably assemble. And I will stand in anybody's face that tries to enforce against that right. I don't care who they are. I'm old. So, you know. Well, the inside of the body says different. State Constitution. Okay, this is your state right here, Virginia. My neighbor. Key provisions from Article 1, Section 13 of the Virginia Constitution. Militia, standing armies, and the military subordinate to civil power. Subordinate to civil power. That a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people trained to arms is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state. Therefore, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay, reinforcing the Constitution, that standing armies in time of peace should be avoided as dangerous to liberty, and that in all cases the military should be under strict subordination to and governed by civil power. This is your Constitution, your state Constitution. For now. Well. Yeah. So your Constitution goes on, okay, to more thoroughly explain the composition. All right, you have National Guard, you have an organized state reserve militia called the Virginia Defense Force, and everyone else is then the organized militia. The unorganized militia exists automatically by operation of law, according to constitutional protections we just talked about, and U.S. Code. Okay. So, Virginia Defense Force, Section 44 to 54.4 is formally organized and maintained by the Department of Military Affairs under state control. Now, unorganized militia cannot, I'm going to abbreviate some of this. Because I could ramble on. Unorganized militia does not have the authority to form up as an official government recognized militia. Okay, so we couldn't in this room form up and say, hey, we're a militia and we are a branch of the Virginia Defense Force. Can't do that. That's not legal. We're an unorganized militia. We can form up and name ourselves whatever the heck we want. And that's we think U.S. militia because it kind of makes the point real simple. And So the unorganized militia can perform education, can perform training, can perform community service, can perform storm response, can participate in voting drives and election drives and community cleanup and community safety patrols, neighborhood watch, all these things that are important, you know, our responsibility continuum, if you want to call it that, as adults starts here with ourselves. We have to deal with ourselves first and make sure that we're responsible and doing the things that we should be doing. And that extends that into our household and then to our neighborhood and then to our community, okay? And then city, county, and state. So the authority to call out or order the organized militia service is usually only the governor of the state. North Carolina, the governor, of course, has sole authority to call out North Carolina State Defense Force. However, he doesn't have authority over the unorganized militia. Now, the governors can legitimize the word just went away. Unorganized militia. He can say, hey, we would like you to, would you please take your people and would you go over here, do this, and we'll make it official. We'll sign a document to provide authority for you, you know, with local officials so they don't give you a hard time, and or the local sheriff can deputize local unorganized militia for a specific period of time to help with a specific issue. Okay. Now the organized militia, and in that situation I just told you about, the organized militia can be used for executing laws, pressing rights, insurrections, repelling invasion, aiding in disasters, being clean, etc., like in Texas, where lives and property are in peril. When ordering out the unorganized militia, the governor designates the number needed and may call for volunteers. There's a draft. Good luck with that. So, militia state active duty, governor orders designate may call for the militia. And 4480 order in which classes the militia are called into service. So the governor decides the basic order. National Guard, which and this is typical across the country. The National Guard will get called in first, and then after that, if needed, then the organized militia, and then after that, if needed, the unorganized militia. Yes, please. The militia is a citizen, yes, of course they are. Now, I had some personal experience with election. Everybody, militia or not, has to abide by local polling station law. Okay? In other words, you can't promote one candidate over another within X amount of feet of a polling station. You cannot be armed at a polling station. You cannot, of course, verbally harass anybody. So there's a relatively short list of things that you can't do within X amount of feet of a polling station. So, yes, you can stand outside of that perimeter and film with a cell phone all day long. Absolutely can. You want to know more about that situation? Look up Mesa, Arizona, 2022. Yeah, the election stuff out there. Get it earful. We'll keep it busy for a while. Now, covered disaster response already. Okay, Western North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, et cetera, et cetera. Now we had a couple other things I want to mention. We didn't have anybody out there with sat phones. A lot of people. So Elon Musk sent a tractor full of Starlink antennas out there. okay, with free service for, I don't remember how long. A lot of people were buying the Starlinks out there because really there was no cellular service in many areas. One of our people from Tennessee, I think, JB, yes, from Tennessee, he brought his, he's a ham radio operator, so he brought his equipment out to Black Mountain and set up behind the place we were, the venue that we were at there, and he could talk to anybody, anywhere, and he did. So communications are extremely important. We had people specifically handling logistics. So how does this pertain to militia? Well, JB and I were both militia at the time. There were a lot of other militia persons, unorganized militia persons there. And then there was the rest of the unorganized militia, which is everybody else. Now, something that U.S. militia does, we don't limit our age to 17. Like I said earlier, there is so much experience in this room. Why would we do that? It would be silly. This is our structure. I don't know if everybody kind of see this.
No,
No.
if you send me that PowerPoint, I can put it in the newsletter as an
Okay,
attachment.
So this is our organizational structure, and it also has some programs that we're working on. And I'll just go ahead and read through this real quick, point them out. So we organize this by what I'm used to as far as coordinating structure. Right? S shops, which are service shops, 1 to 6. S1 is admin, S2 is intel, S3 is operations, S4 is logistics, S5 is civil affairs, S6 is communications. Okay, so we have comms, media, we have a community liaison, civic affairs, and then we have some personal staff officers, chaplain, public affairs, staff judge advocate to make sure that we're operating by our written bylaws that we do have. Okay. And secretary, treasurer, chief medical officer. We intend at some point in the near future, hopefully, to outline a program for a youth camp that will focus on constitutional freedoms, okay, the Constitution itself, American civics, American history, without this garbage that is currently in school and school books, etc. This is going to be real and vetted information. I'm trying to get people interested in participating in the existing Adopt a Highway program. Okay. You know, look, I'm retired. I have time. I can go walk down the street and clean up half a mile worth of garbage. Yeah. And it helps our community. It helps the place look better. It helps people feel better about their community. We have prepping programs. We have, you know, look, when it comes, you hear the word prepping, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, they're gonna buy $8,000 worth of food and they're gonna put a $35,000 bunker in the backyard. No, no, reasonable prepping. Okay, look, my mother's parents immigrated here from Czechoslovakia before World War II. Okay, grandma canned food, had a garden out back, had a pantry full of canned food, had a freezer full of food. Okay, and every time we went over there, I was a skinny child. She would look up at me, grab my cheeks, and go, "Eat, you're so skinny." So we're talking about regional, you know. Look, every state has a storm preparedness list. You know, have X amount of gallons of water, have some non-perishable food, have your medicines, right? Have some form of communication and have something to protect yourself with. Well, we have the same thing. And when we talk about prepping, that's what we mean. We mean reasonable prepping to get you through a period of 14 to 30 days. Okay. Look, if you want to buy, you know, some dehydrated meat, dehydrated vegetables, and you have the money to do so, more is the better. Okay. As I said, we have the help channel with Marty. We also have, look, over the, specifically the last 7 years, roughly, 7 years or so, we have networked with thousands. So while they may not be formal direct members of U.S. militia, of course, the second targets. And these are people that we've worked with in child rescue, okay, in female rescue, okay, adult female rescue, and disaster response, and community service, and all these other things that we do. Community safety patrols. You know, with these attacks that are happening more and more frequently, and we're having terror attacks in this nation, we are standing up a program to, and it's like a neighborhood watch in a van or in the back of a truck, only with firearms. Not to go out and intimidate people or raise hate and discontent or do anything illegal, but to go out and be aware of what's going on in their neighborhood and be ready to respond in a responsible way if need be, on a regional scale, of course, in self-defense, and there's some caveats on it, but it is a whole training program. We are working on an outline for a clean foods program. Who's familiar with the mRNA? You know, that's allegedly going in vaccines being shot into animals that eat. And we had a factory down near Raleigh, in a little town called Garner Clayton, one of them. Somebody started up a lab-grown lettuce plant. Yeah, it was mRNA. It was edited. Okay, CRISPR and all that stuff. You guys. So went out of business because people raised such a stink about it, and nobody wanted it. Yeah, well, we don't want that. We're poisoning. Yeah, yeah, right. So, but there are some foods sporadically coming into the market that we have to be aware of because they're using this same poison. Okay, so our clean foods program includes zero tolerance mRNA. Okay, our food freedom of process for farmers and ranchers, because they should be. Why are there? You know, look, it is safe to process meat and process vegetables, et cetera, under I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's not a FDA inspected program. It's usually a county level program where you can get a permit to produce and process certain things. Okay, and they do come and inspect, but it's nowhere near as expensive. It's nowhere near as ridiculously bureaucratic as these federal programs. And that's how things should be done. And raw milk. Look, we have what? We have the right to pursue happiness, freedom. And a lot of these programs and government rules, look, a rule is not a law. The FDA says this is a rule. If it's not passed into law, you don't have to abide by it. Tell you do. They might even send you a letter, or they might even send somebody to your door. But we'll be a little rude here for a second. You just tell them, piss the hell off, get off my yard, or trespass. If you don't, I will drag you out. Right? This is the attitude we have to come back to. We have to push back on these people every time, everywhere. Stop letting them push us around. Okay? And we have an honest label that we will provide to farmers and ranchers who honestly label their food, their product. What is in it? What did they feed it? What kind of chemicals that they're using? Look, I had a certified organic farm for 3 years. I started from scratch. Very, very familiar with what goes into our foods, not only vegetables. So I grew vegetables from A to Z, okay, arugula to zucchini. I had 5,000 organic strawberry plants, and I had 50 organic chickens, organic certified chickens for certified organic eggs. So I'm very familiar with this stuff. It is not that difficult. in the entire agricultural system is ass backwards. Why are such requirements? It's expensive. It costs over $4,000 just for the certification for those three things. Okay, and there are annual renewal fees. Why do I have to pay $4,000? But Farmer Joe down the street can go down to Con Ag and he can buy 8,000 gallons of Roundup Ready, and he can go spray it on his crops all day long. Doesn't have to keep any records, doesn't have to have any inspections, and doesn't have to pay any fees. So the poison is okay, but the clean food you gotta pay. Shouldn't be that way. We have a national council. This is not run like a military, okay? Because obviously, I mean, if I said, hey, go do this, gave you an order, would you do that? No. Our states will be considered battalions, our counties are considered companies, our cities are considered platoons, just for the sake of everybody knows the progression from state to county to city. Okay? And then we have small teams within those and community safety patrols, and triage teams. The community triage teams is an idea that sprung out of Western North Carolina. It was a local treating people in that area, and when those systems were overwhelmed, getting them out to surrounding communities, medical centers. So we intend to do the same thing in the event of attacks, natural disasters, etc. Our people, if they're not previously committed, they can respond to the outer area, okay, around a disaster zone. They can triage people coming in out of that zone, send them to facilities outside their area. This is where local knowledge is very important. Core values, we are nonpartisan, although so we can't be partisan legally. Okay? We all have our own views. We don't have an official position as an organization on politics. We don't tolerate any illegal activity or extremism, and we comply with all constitutional, federal, and state laws that are constitutional, not the ones that are like law. Yeah. There's very colorful words. We do teach marksmanship, basic marksmanship. We teach firearm safety, first aid and stop the bleed. And I would like to mention to you guys, I should have brought my IFAC. Who knows what an IFAC is? Individual first aid kit. Who knows? So it is a combat derived medical kit for each individual, okay, that has been developed over the last decades of war, right, over the Middle East. And it contains tools with which you can save your life if you're injured. If you're on a construction site and you trip on an nailed on rebar, you have something in there you can treat yourself with. If you crash and you have a deep gash somewhere in your body, you can actually treat yourself with this kit. It's about yay big, it's about yay thick, okay? And you can purchase them anywhere from $65 up to $150. And there are only 5 basic things you need in them. We train people how to use them, save their own life with them. And if they feel like being a good Samaritan and don't need it at the emergency, they can treat somebody else with it. An IFAC, individual first aid kit. Most important things it contains are a tourniquet. 2, if you're wise, you get good ones, not the $10 ones. It contains, why am I having a brain fart again? So it contains tourniquets. It contains a vented chest seal, okay, to prevent pneumothorax. It contains an unvented chest seal, and it contains cloth gauze. So this is usually a 2x2 sheet that is impregnated with a hemostatic issue that blocks the blood. So if you have a puncture, you take that cloth gauze around your finger and shove it in there, and you pack it wound full of this cotton wads, it clots the blood, stops the bleeding, saves the life. Some, that is some of them do. We do have, we have a written instruction manual that routinely teaches. So if you're interested, we have. Oh, at the end of this, I have a QR code where you can go and make contact with us through the website, et cetera, and then we can get you linked up with those classes, and they are free. Okay. And we can do them online. It's, I mean, they're, you know, it's very important, but it's not brain surgery. Oh, actually, this is our website, www.usmilitia.us.com. This is our email address. Just a minute. We do have accounts on X, Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, and I will very quickly. I'm going to take just 1 minute, if I may, please. Sure. Yeah, sure. Oops. Go back. Yeah. How many? You come back. I'm trying. I'm pushing the button. It's not doing anything. There you go. Now, one of the reasons, you know, I told you some of the reasons because, you know, we're attacked by. Look, technology doesn't like me. Okay. Yeah. So I told you about some of the reasons that we need to do what we're doing. Okay? Some of the other reasons that we need to do what we're doing is over the last 5.5 years, well, during the last regime, okay, 4 years, I was in Arizona for a 1.5 years. Then to Texas, I did the Arizona border. I've walked the Rio Grande. I've walked the Rio Grande next to the International Bridge, okay, in Eagle Pass. I've been to Del Rio, and I have been everywhere between Del Rio and Eagle Pass, and to most of the Arizona border. So I have seen the people and the children coming across the border. It's horrific, okay? And they're still being rescued today. But some of the other people that came across that border, okay, are about 100,000 military-age male Chinese who are PLA trained. That is the Communist Chinese Army. They are in our nation today. And there's not a peep anywhere about where the heck they're at. Okay, we've got about 200,000 Chinese visa students in colleges here. They are de facto, you know, now I don't know that every one of them is a spy, but they are a de facto spy. Why? Because they have family back in China, and if the CCP comes to them and says, you're going to go take pictures of this base, oh, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. I'm going to kill your family in China. Okay, so this is the leverage that is typically used on these people, right? We have, how many people have seen FBI and National Counterterrorism Center bulletins that came out? 18,000 Middle Eastern terrorists came across the southern border. They're here. Not a peep about the resolution, whether or not they've been caught or whether they're still in the wing. Okay, China is threatened to take down our power generation station transformers, the biggest ones that they produce now. And backdoor hardware has been found in those transformers. Backdoor hardware has been found in those port shipping cranes that they sell to us. Okay, they're in all of our civil systems. They're in our water systems. They're in our electric systems. They're in our payment systems. They're in government systems. They're constantly attacking us. So this is another reason, and a very this is a clear and present threat to our nation right now. There were supposedly, you know, there was a threat window opened in mid-February until right about now for a stated series of attacks on 26 named cities, hospital systems, and they were tier 2 cities, tier 1 trauma centers. Tier 2 cities because their response infrastructure was less than a tier 1 city. That's why they wanted to attack them. Okay. We've got 80,000 Afghanis were imported during the Slojo airlift, 80,000 Somalis plus, okay, up in Minnesota, and the trillions of dollars of fraud that is being found across the nation. All right. The Liberty Center shit. Tens of thousands of Haitians, you know, they're barbecuing cats and dogs. I don't think they brought the old barbecue master from Haiti over here that was barbecuing a person in the street. But this is what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Mexican, how many have heard of the Mexican Reconquista movement? Yeah, there are Mexicans that are diehard. The West Coast of America is ours, and we're taking it back. and they're active. Sure. Yeah, they're active on the West Coast, as well as Chinese triads. Okay, kind of like the American Mafia, you got Chinese triads. There are 3 of them. They're represented on the West Coast and across the northern part of the nation. They're the ones with all the illegal pot grows. Guess what they're doing with that cash thing? They're funding the little terrorist army. And they're probably paying off giving Middle Eastern terrorists money and arms and all sorts of stuff just to mess with us. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And then 4,000 mosques and somewhere between 4.5 and 6 million Muslims who don't like us, don't want to kill us. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for listening. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Yes.
There's one slide back there when you said about the Constitution of Virginia. And it went all the way down and, who is control of it. Then it said insubordinate of civil authority.
For the organized militia, yes.
So the civil authority is basically the city government, correct?
No.
Subordinate to what civil?
So civil authority, okay. If there are individual counties in North Carolina that have started formal militias, right, are endorsed by approved by the sheriffs and their county commissioners. All right, in my county, they're not having anything to do with it. So in that case, they would be answerable to the sheriff. Okay, because a county board of commissioners, a city council, they are not law enforcement. They have zero authority to order or enforce the law. But the sheriff does. And the sheriff is the only constitutionally mentioned law enforcement. Police are not. Police do, in fact, work for a corporation, city of XYZ Incorporated, whatever city they work for, whether they swear an oath or not. Sheriff, on the other hand, is elected. They're answerable to your people, and an organized militia in a time of need would be answerable to the sheriff if he made them official, right? If they were organized militia, or if they were the unorganized called into service.
But you can also stand down too.
Well, he could order them to stand down from official organized status. Then they could go back to under their constitutional protections, First and Second Amendment. They could go back to carrying on and doing what they do as unorganized militia. They just couldn't claim any official status.
I just wanted to say, you said civil authority. I said, okay, but you get all organized and everything. Just like what you said, your county doesn't have anything to do with it, right?
Right.
So it could be, it's just hit and miss what you can and can't do if they don't want to do it, right?
Well, if they don't want to do it, you're not officially recognized as you were the unorganized militia, and very honest, please. We just can't. Right. Yes, sir.
Is this an organized militia, or is this run independently according to each one?
So we accept, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, but I'll explain. Already on. We accept direct members in the U.S. militia, and we also accept coalition groups. Now, we don't dictate to coalition groups. We negotiate how we're going to behave and communicate and coordinate with each other, how we're going to operate together. As far as direct members, like I said, we have conduct and violence. Yes. ICE? Well, I think they're doing a fantastic job. I think they need to be. Yeah. If they came across the border illegally, then they broke the law. Sorry, gotta go. Come back the right way. I don't care. Yes. Yes. We do. You could, now, some of our information, like, there's certain training information that we don't make available to the public. Okay? Because, we don't want, well, it's not a matter of, well, in part it's secrets, but we don't want children, teenagers taking this information and doing something wrong with it. Okay, so.
One more question.
Okay. So there are actually, we don't have our own network, but I've seen two other companies out there, two other organizations that have started, they only accept unvaccinated blood. Has to be, they have to provide records, separate, vetting process. So that people who receive blood through that service can be assured that they're receiving unvaccinated blood. So, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. Now,